Welcome to module number 3 in the Great Google Sites Cook-Off. In this module, we're going to look at how to further customize your Google site to prepare for filling it out with your content. So we're going to jump back into the More button here and go back down to Manage Site. The first thing I want to show you is how you can change the basic template for your site. So we're going to go down here to Themes. And this will allow you to change your color scheme or layout to one of the other themes that are already available in Google Sites. So for the purpose of this training, I requested a plain iceberg site. And there are several other plain sites. Here's one that's simple, that's pretty plain looking. But as you can see, there are all different kinds available to you to select. I would recommend, for the purpose of a library site, to not get anything that is too um, individual because you want to be able to tweak it and you don't want to distract from your content with too many graphics. Also, keep in mind that as you develop your site and it gets more complicated, um, more complex, you won't want to come in here and change the theme. It just doesn't work when you have a lot of content in it. So, but let's take a look at it. So, say that I wanted to consider the micro blueprint. I can select that and select Preview. And it will give me a kind of look at what that site would look like with my site to see if I would like it. Um, and you can play around with that a little bit. Say I wanted to try this one. I could do that as well. And it'll pop up and show you. Now, all of these continue to be customizable, but in some cases, it's just an easy way for you to play around with different themes that have already been created for you just to keep things a little bit on the easy side. So again, we're going to stay with the iceberg for the purpose of this training. You can just save or cancel. Since nothing is being changed, we'll just cancel. Next, let's look at a new feature for editing sites that Google just put in. It's under More again. And currently it says new, but let's go to edit site layout. Just want you to be aware that this is here. In this module, we are going to just look at all of the different big picture functionality types of things that you can do for your site. So this is the new edit site layout. Notice that you have some choices here. You probably won't want to do all of these choices right now, but this tells you things that are enabled or not enabled. So, for example, going over here, the site width is the theme default. I usually don't mess with that. You may want to for some reason or another, but be aware that it's there. Also, you'll currently see that I have the header selected because I did insert a header. And I have horizontal navigation already enabled. You'll see the Home tab here. In the next module, we're going to start adding pages, so that will fill out as we go across. For the purpose of this training, I'm now going to click on the sidebar option, and you're going to see that it's going to select a sidebar navigation for me too. So for training purposes, we will build out both the horizontal and the sidebar for you. As you develop your own site, you may decide that you want a clean look of only having one or the other. Notice that another thing that you can enable on the edit site layout is the custom footer. So I'm going to select that. And then notice that you can put content into the footer here where you may want to link over to your school's main website or other links that you recommend. So that is available for you too. When you are finished, you select Closed, and you'll notice that your changes have taken place. The last thing that I want to show you today in this module will actually be the one place where you will probably spend some additional time and come back to frequently as you continue to tweak and develop your site. So we're going to go back under More and Manage Site again. But this time we're going to go into Colors and Fonts here at the bottom. And this is where you can really make your site your own. Um, it is where you can get really crafty and just make it a site that you enjoy. So I'm not going to go over every single link here, but I'm going to hit some highlights. So this is where you can customize the pages, the font, the colors of various things in your site. So notice here at the top by default, here again are your choices for your different themes. I'm going to stay with iceberg for the purpose of this. Notice that you can't really go wrong because you can always come back to this clear all customizations and come back to your original site if you think you went far from where you really want to be. So the first thing to notice is there are several different subheadings here. There are sections where you can do things to the entire page of the website. There's also a section for where you can tweak different components of the site header, the content area, and that is like the main part of the site where you would have most of your content. Later on, we're going to talk about gadgets, and so you probably won't get too much into the content area gadgets right now, but those will be little pieces of embeddable code that you will look at later on to kind of make your website have certain functions. Sidebar gadgets, again, we won't look at that too much right now, but we will later on in this training. Navigation gadgets, horizontal navigation, and the horizontal navigation drop-down menu. So we'll take a look at some of those now. The first thing that you can notice is that you can look at the page background color and background image. So you have a couple of choices there with the page itself. So that occasionally, usually if I'm going to click on this page background color, a lot of times you'll want to leave it white just because as you start putting pictures and other items on it that may have a white background, it may look a little choppy if you pick a different color. So you may want to use the theme default, which is often white, or you could select none, or you could select a custom color. Let's say I select custom. Um, Here are your choices of colors. What this would do is make the page that color. So um, usually you might not want to go say a bold red because it would make the site rather unreadable if you're trying to read text on, a dark color like red or blue or pink or so on. So you'll want to be judicious with that. You can always go around and change it. I have created several sites where I went with a very pale gray, which worked okay for me, but probably leaving it white will be the best for you. You can also put a page background image, but again, you would want to use that very carefully because it will detract from the text that you're going to be putting in your website later on. Now, one area where I do like to get creative sometimes is with this page wrapper background image. So that is what's going to appear in the sides of the site itself. And I do want to show you how to do that. You can stick with the theme default, which in this case is a light gray at the moment. You can select none, but I'm going to say custom. And I'm going to select add a file, and I'll select this flower background. So it's uploading my flower background. It's important to select a tiled image, and you can select an image and make it smaller if you would like to. But let's say that I'm going to go with that. Now, as I've put this image in, it gives me several choices here. I can repeat it horizontally and vertically, none, or just one or the other. and you can align it to the left, center, right, and the top, center, or bottom. So you can play around with that a little bit. You may decide that you don't want to do it at all, but let's say that you do. It gives you a preview here, and you can decide, if you like it or you don't like it, and select save. And so now the site has a background image in it. Um, You can also carry that same background image to the header if you'd like. In some cases, such as the Google Sites Cook-Off website, I did do that with the wooden background that I selected for that. So you can get creative, or you may just decide to change the color or go with the color that's part of the template. But that's a fun one to try to play around with a little bit. Now let's go into the content area because that's another place where you can customize. I tend not to do too much with these areas because if you've ever studied website design, you know that you want to avoid doing things that may detract from your message or make it hard for the site to be readable, um, you know, or too busy or that kind of thing. So, but do know that you have these available to you and you may want to use some of them to tweak it. So in the content area font, you can use the font that they have selected, which is usually a basic font, or you can customize it. I'm selecting custom here, and you'll see a number of fonts that are available for you. Again, I'd caution you to not go with anything too um, out of the norm there. And I'm going to stick with use the theme default. You can also change the font size, the text color, and I have had sites where I do change the text color. By default, it's usually black, but you can customize it there. Again, you don't have too many choices. In some cases with sites, I've gone with a dark gray, or even I've gone with a red once in a while, but again, you'd have to be pretty careful with that. So I'm going to stay with the theme default for that as well. So play around a little bit. You have title fonts. Some of this will become more clear as we get into the next module and you start creating pages and putting content on your pages. But I wanted you to be aware that it's here. So you could change the background of the page, put an image in. Um, as we work with gadgets later on, be aware that these are here. You probably will want to go back once you put a gadget in and adapt some of this so that you can make your color palette match. I think with good web design, it's good to stick with only a few different colors here. So if I'm looking at my website here, I notice that this default iceberg purple is not going to look good with the reds and the white and the yellow here. So that's definitely an area that I'm going to change. So let's let's go into that and look at that. So I'm going to go back up here and I'm going to go down to navigation, horizontal navigation. There's a lot of choices here. It can be confusing at first. Keep in mind, you can always go back and change things or revert. So I generally do not mess with the title font. The text color I may want to change. So for horizontal navigation text color, let's say I want to customize that. And let's say I want to go kind of like pull into the yellow that I'm already using. So I'll try that. And the horizontal navigation background color, let's say I want to try to tap into maybe the red there. Um, and then you have some choices here when you're hovering and when you're selecting the text. So hovering means that somebody is putting their mouse over it, but they haven't really clicked on it yet. So in that case, sometimes I go with a shade darker or lighter than the color that I just selected so that it kind of makes it pop a little bit. And you have your selected color. Sometimes I keep that the same just so that to avoid there being too many things and getting too much of a rainbow there. But you'll have your own way of doing things. So, um, do what makes sense for you. So you can always look at this and it brings up a preview right below it so you don't have to toggle back and forth between saving and coming back. So you'll notice right away if something looks wrong. Maybe I think that that was too bright a red, and so I'm going to go back to this other red. But be aware that it's there for the navigation. Now, currently, for this last one here, horizontal navigation drop-down menu, where you're going to get that is if you have a more complex website where your users are going to select a tab going across and it has subpages that are associated with that tab. So this is again something you're going to come back to again and again as you're creative with your site. Play around with it for now for this module and be aware to come back to it as you build your site out. So this concludes module number 3 for the Google Sites Cook-Off. Please continue to work on your site and enjoy. Thank you.